So good evening. I hope you can see me and hear me. If you can, let me know. I had once again a technical issue with going live. I've had a number of those now. And for some reason, I think I set it up so that I needed streaming software and not just normal going live through the webcam, so it wouldn't go on. And so now I'm here. And I hope you can hear me. You can see there's people on the other side, which is good. But as always, as this is recorded and saved, it can be watched after. So it doesn't matter how many people are on the other side right now. So I was undecided in the beginning about what to talk about tonight, or this morning, or this afternoon, depending on where you are. But I ended up settling for purpose and black and white thinking and questions and answers at the end. And so now I'm going to talk about the purpose, because in the beginning, initially I was going to talk about black and white thinking and then purpose, but now I'm going to go for purpose straight away. And connected to this topic is a how-to guide that I released at the end of March in 2019. And I think this was potentially the second how-to guide that I released. I think the first one was the Inner Child how-to guide, and I think after this one it was Purpose how-to guide. So this is right at the beginning, and this is one I put together in 2018. I think I created, more or less finished, about 4 how-to guides. So I was quite prolific with the how-to guides. And so I want to read the description of the book. And I start off saying, do you often feel that your life has no meaning? Are you unable to get out of bed some mornings? Do you often feel depressed? Are you jealous or even anxious of how some other people live? Do you believe that you have no reason for being here? And lastly, is it normal for you to waste your time? And I think that in the current age, there is a lot of nihilism about, and a sense of what's the point? What's the point in doing anything? And of course, if someone has gone through a lot very early on, then that can create a sense of nihilism as well, through being disconnected from themselves, not being in tune with their feelings or a number of their needs, and they can just have a sense of what's the point. And through being in a shutdown, depressed, repressed state, then it can be, life can have a darkness to it, and it can be seen as no meaning to anything. And after that, I say, if you answered yes to any of these questions, it is likely to be a good idea. I've got something wrong there. I've had a typo. Let's see what I say on another source. Or I think what I basically say is it's likely to be a good idea for you to find your purpose. And again, if you can hear me on the other side, please let me know, just to be certain. I'm guessing you can. I'm hoping you can. And then after this, I say, purpose, how to find your purpose is a step-by-step guide that will allow you to gradually get in touch with your reasons for being here. Not only will this book allow you to do this, but it will also offer guidance to help you live a life that's worth living. And at the end, I say each chapter builds upon the other, giving you everything you need to find your purpose. Through becoming aware of what your purpose is, your life will gradually become more fulfilling. So, as you can tell through what I've said, the purpose of this, at the beginning when I wrote the how-to guide, I thought, how could I provide something that will assist other people in finding their purpose, finding their reasons for being here? Because after being in a place myself of not having a strong sense of purpose, a strong reason for being here, I know what it's like to be in a place of despair and what's the point? Life has no meaning, and to not live with that sense of I'm here for a reason. So, and now for the content section. First, there is a foreword, and then an introduction. And then step 1, what do you enjoy doing? Step 2, connecting to yourself. Step 3, an important question. Step 4, additional questions. And step 5, follow the signs. Step 6, what can you contribute to the world? Step 7, 2 types of needs. Step 8, to the power of letting go. And step 9, journaling. And then there's an afterword, my story, very brief description, and acknowledgements, and then something about the person who wrote the foreword. So with with the with the questions, of course, to try and the purpose of those is to bring out, I think I've got a bit of mild hay fever. But anyway, so the purpose of the questions is to bring out from within you what it is that is important to you, what your values are. And so there's someone on the other side, Selena. Hello. Good to have you here again. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're being creative as well. And as I wrote this book a number of years ago, I'm not quite sure exactly what all of the chapters are about, the sections. But when it comes to step 6, what can you contribute to the world? Thanks. And when it comes to step 6, what can you contribute to the world? That's because, of course, a big part of the meaning we experience is through giving, and through giving of our gifts, through whatever means that is. Could be through a number of ways. Could be through writing, could be through painting, could be through volunteering, could be through so many different things. Through having that impact on the world, we then have that sense of worth comes back, making a difference, making our own unique contribution. And if I remember rightly, I think one of the questions was, what would you do if you didn't care about what anyone else thinks? Because, of course, the need for approval can stop us from just doing whatever we really want to do. And then as a result of that, we can sell ourselves short, sell ourselves out. And that's okay. Selena says, I would do nothing because I'm lazy. Why not? Just sit around. We all need to do that. Find a nice beach somewhere in the countryside. I know some people like to be in the woods like myself. Some people like to be on the beach, but some people like both. But we all need time to recharge because, of course, along with giving, we need to be able to receive. And if we can't receive, then it's going to be very hard for us to give. There's often a lot of talk on how important it is to give and give and give. But to bring it down to the basics, if we can't breathe air in, we can't breathe air out. So receiving is key. If we can't receive, there is no giving. Hello, Bethany 92, I think that says. From Missouri in USA. Always good to hear from people in America. I have been there a few times myself, not for many years, but had some good experiences there. And someone else as well, before I go on to the next thing. Darling Dear, I think that says. From Texas. Interesting. I remember meeting a few people in Mexico who were from Texas, 2 teachers. That was good fun. What about the sun? No idea. No idea. So, so now I'm going to read the introduction. The introduction to the book. Yeah, I'd say so. I think the sun is offering itself through giving us heat and light. So now I'm going to go into the introduction of the How to Find Your Purpose how-to guide. As I said, a book that I released in 2019 at the end of March. So came out within the star sign of Aries. Thought it was a good month to release it. So to begin. So if someone feels as though they have a reason to live and that their life has meaning, it will be easier for them to get out of bed each morning. Even if they feel tired, they'll still have the urge to get up. Through experiencing life in this way, they are going to know what it feels like to feel fulfilled, and they might even be used to feeling happy. But even if they aren't used to feeling happy, this might not concern them. And no, I'll carry on. I was going to add something, but I might be repeating myself. What this comes down to is that through living life in this way, they will have something far more substantial than happiness. They will have meaning. The happiness that they experience will then be a natural consequence of living life in this way. Another benefit here is that they are unlikely to get caught up in the dramas around them or in the dramas of the wider world, as they'll be too committed to what they're doing. Getting caught up in the dramas of life will be seen as a waste of their precious time that they can't get back. And while they might look forward to what will happen as time goes on, it doesn't mean that this will stop them from being able to do. It doesn't mean that this will stop them from being able to embrace what they do in each moment. Ultimately, a lot of what they do will be fulfilling in and of itself, as opposed to a means to an end. However, although living in this way is going to be deeply enriching, there are plenty of people who are unable to relate to this experience. But this isn't a sign that their version of a fulfilling life is different. It's the result of something else. It will come down to the fact that their life will feel meaningless and like there is no real reason for them to be here. When someone can relate to this, it might seem as though they don't belong on this planet. Conversely, I'm trying to concentrate here. So conversely, they might have had a lot of bad experiences as well as being in a lot of pain, and therefore they might be happy for their life to come to an end. Naturally, if they have suffered in this way and are continuing to suffer, it is not going to be a surprise for them to have this outlook. If they were to carry on with what they are doing, their life is not only going to get worse, no, their life is only going to get worse. Whereas if they were to look into what they can do to change it, it would give them the opportunity to do something about it. The most important thing will be for them to take the first step. And then I go on to say, personally, I believe that everyone on this planet is here for a reason. And that this reason will become clear if the right steps are taken. At the same time, I would say that we all have a number of reasons for being here, not just one. And then lastly, last two parts. what usually gets in the way of being able to connect to our reasons for being here is what we pick up. Throughout our life. This then erodes the connection that we have, or prevents it from being formed from the outset, resulting in a life that can feel like a burden. And lastly, so it is my intention that through reading this book and applying what you learn, you will be able to get in touch with your own reasons for being here, and consequently live a life that's worth living. And then lastly, I go on to say, I wish you the very best on this journey. So with that said, let me let's have a look at the comments here. So Selena says, tell me what gives you meaning, and I can tell you how you can be a puppet. Interesting. Then she goes on to say, nobody belongs here because it's hell, but it's nice and warm lately. Interesting. Then Darling Dior from Texas says, I would like to be able to write thoughts like this in a book, but I'm quite bad with words. And some supportive words from Selena. I'm pretty sure you can do it. So am I. Darling Dior, I'd say start small. Do you have a journal? Because for 2 years, I had a journal. And this was after a mentor of mine, one of my first mentors, Dov Baron. He was always talking about the importance of having a journal. And so in 2008, I started writing in a journal, just whatever. What I liked about it was that there was no pressure. No one was judging me. No one was saying, oh, that doesn't sound right, or your spelling's off, or that's not very clear. Didn't matter, because I could just get it down. I wasn't concerned about anyone else out there giving me any grades or anything like being at school, because I didn't do very well at school. And apart from art and a few other things, but I was not really into studying or education, or not that education anyway. And then after that, I think before I had a journal, I remember when I was at college doing music tech, I would write for the assignments, and I somehow was able to talk about psychology, and I enjoyed doing it. And then afterwards, as I said, I had the journal, and then in 2010, that's when I first started writing. So my point is that it can take time, but through just starting small. So have a journal, write whenever you want, and just get it down. Then over time, it will improve. It's a bit like with anything, but one example, it's a bit like with running. I do a lot of running, but in the beginning, I was running a few miles. I didn't just go straight into a half marathon. So build it up, go at your own pace. There's no right or wrong. There's your style of writing. You're not here to be writing like anyone else, and just build it up. All starts with the first step. And let's have a look at these comments. Selena says, I currently have a sore throat, so ignore my moodiness. It will get better or not. Yeah, I'm sure it will over time. I've heard it's good to live near the sea, because I suppose the wind or whatever removes the pollen. So perhaps I need to move near to the sea. So Darling Dior says, I do, but I don't. But I do, but I don't write much in it. So she has a journal. I don't want to mess it up. And then Selena says, write for yourself. Or don't write if you don't want to. That's it. It's a choice. Free will. And then Darling Dior says, you are right. I need to practice for myself. Though I started on this app called Notion, since I can access it online as well. Yeah, good idea. It's a bit like with journals. I mean, I prefer to write, but you can have a journal where you just speak. And I've got a friend of mine, and he's got this app. I think it's an app, and he just speaks, records it, and that's his journal. And then he can go back. I think he adds pictures as well. And before he sent me an image that he took as part of his journal. So there's many ways of doing things, just like with writing. There's so many things. You can do it online. You can just have a very basic book. You can get a flash journal. Have a very simple notebook. Doesn't matter. Do it for you. And that way you're building up your belief in your writing. And then after that, once you get to a good level, for example, you could then share that with a few friends or a few trusted others, and they say, okay, yeah, this is good, or some feedback here and there. Then you go from there, and then you take the next step. I suppose it's a bit like someone who can they enjoy singing. So first they're singing in their bedroom, then they're singing in the shower, let's say, and then after that they start singing to friends and family. And then once they've done that, then they start doing busking in the street. Maybe they have some singing lessons as well. And then once they've done that, then they can have some gigs. The desire and they want to go that route, they hit the big time and they're on a big stage. But if someone has just started singing, they probably don't want to go to the extreme. Baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. And the chat, Poseidon, hit me up. Selena providing the humour. I can't swim to save my life. Well, keep it simple. Don't go too far in the sea. Just stay close to the shore. I actually went swimming the other day, and it was cold as hell. Really cold. Didn't stay in there for long. But outside it was quite warm. But I was feeling the ache as soon as I got in. Thought I was going to settle my nervous system down and have a soothing swim. Not that time, not that time. And then Selena says, what if you are shy? Is that in relation to sharing your work? Is that what you're talking about? And anyone else, if you just joined and you haven't left a comment about where you're from, feel free to let me know. It's always good to know where people are watching from. Singing, if you are shy and you're singing and you want to sing, yeah, well that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, some people, when they are singing or performing or whatever, they go into they go into a role, so they can be very shy, but once they're on the stage, they can be full of it. I think there's got to be so many musicians who are very extroverted on stage, but in real life they can be quite shy, quite introverted. So it's interesting how different sides of us come out in different settings. So Selena, you sing then, I take it. And then Bethany92 is saying her best friend's husband read her journal without permission. Any recommendations on something different, secure she can journal? Good question. Good question. I mean, for one thing, that's a boundary violation for sure. Obviously, very personal. Looking in someone's journal. What comes to mind is just keeping it somewhere safe and secure, perhaps where no one else is aware of where it is. But I think there's this is part of a bigger issue here. Why would someone's partner, husband, wife, whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend, why would they be looking in their partner's journal? Well, with that aside, I think just keeping it somewhere safe and perhaps once it's finished, burning it. Something I often recommend is to burn a journal once it's finished. Of course, you can't look back on it, but at the same time, it can be liberating to get rid of it instead of keeping all that history, that baggage on the paper, releasing the charge, burning it. It's gone then. It's gone. Selena says, I sing and everyone cries in pain. Just takes practice, isn't it? The more you do it, the better you're going to get. And Selena says, yes, have no thoughts. But I think, as I said, in the short term, just put it somewhere safe, somewhere hidden. And Selena says some of us are nosy MF. Right, so going on to the next part. So got a black and white thinking, and I think in a way we've covered many examples of black and white thinking here. And so when it comes to having a journal, writing, for example, so even with that, there can be the sense of, well, I'm no good. I'll never be a good writer. What's the point? So taking things to the extreme versus I can write. It's okay. I can improve. I will make progress. I am capable of being at a good level with my writing, with whatever it may be, with my singing, as we've been speaking about here, with my painting, whatever it may be. We're going into the investment realm. Right, so back to the comments. Under the bed. Darling Dior is saying under the bed. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of actually. That's what came to mind visually. I bet he does not make the bed. Yeah, under the bed in a cupboard somewhere. And then Selena saying crime of the century, that. And Darling Dearest says, as I got older, I noticed I am a black and white thinker. So yeah, black and white thinking, as I said, is when there's no nuance, there's no grey, and then life becomes very one-dimensional. So it can be relates to ourselves. I'm no good at this, I'll never be good at that. Something goes wrong, I'm a failure, I'm incapable, I'm incompetent, instead of it just being feedback and okay, so that didn't go well, but I'm good at these things, I'm good at that. Bringing it back to the being on the healing journey. So something doesn't go as expected. Awesome, pain comes up. I've not made any progress. This isn't working. I haven't moved forward. And then bringing it back to okay, so this didn't go as planned, or some old pain has come up that is similar to what I've worked through. But I can say, okay, I have made progress. And this is where bringing it back to journaling comes in, because through having a journal, we can go back and say, okay, yeah, I've made these steps. They might be small, but over time they build up. But without that, it can be easy to go into the black and white thinking of, I've made no progress. Nothing's changed. Nothing will ever change. Black and white thinking. And to use an analogy, it's a bit like with a house. Now you look at a house, any house, one you like, think, wow, look at that, it's huge, or it's whatever size it is. I really like that. It looks good. But that house is made up of many bricks. And so there was a time when there was nothing there. But through each brick being added, it's now a house. So just come back to the comments again. I think XAV. I think that's Chav, isn't it? Whereabouts you from? Be good to know. Perhaps Mexico, perhaps Spain. And they say, what is the difference between enmeshment and emotional incest? Well, I guess one way of looking at it would be to say that emotional incest leads to enmeshment. So emotional incest is when there is a bond, let's say one example, between mother and son that is too close. The mother is too close. The mother is unable to see her son as her son. And she is then sending energy that is more suitable for a partner or a husband, someone who is not related to her. So the connection is too close, and the energy is wrong. The need behind it is there's a lack of boundaries there, a lack of understanding that person, coming back to the son, is an individual with their own needs and feelings. And that then leads, as I've said, looking towards the son for things that he can't provide. And then through the son not getting what he needs, he then ends up in a stunted state and is unable to emotionally separate from his mother. And I did an article today actually on the looking at how a man can lose the ability to maintain an erection in a relationship. And so that touches on that. And carrying on. So film recommendation. Selena is saying watch. Boo is afraid, and you get the idea. You can't get rid of your parents. No, that's the thing. But through doing the emotional work and gradually individuating, you can gradually form boundaries, and you don't need to get rid of your parents. You don't need to knock them over the head. You don't need to move to Mars. And through doing that, they're less of an issue. You just see them as your parent or your parents. So, can you give an example of how to journal? Okay. Is it Chav? Am I saying that right? If not, I apologize. But anyway, so an example of how to journal. So, got some paper, got a journal in the beginning. Okay, cool. So in the beginning, you can write there the day and the date. So you got that down. And you can go in there. What I usually do, I have titles, and then I add to the title, so I can look back then and locate something that I'm looking for very easily. So, for example, you could write my emotional experience right now or today. So you've got that down there, and then you start writing. Right now, I feel. Get it down, get it down, get it down, get it down, get it down. So you go with that. Write down your feelings. Another thing you could write about. What you would like to do today. You could write my plans for today. And just write all that down. Of course, it's all going to depend on when you're writing this, but assuming this, we're in the morning now, you can write my plans for today. And then you could write, let's say you have an interaction with someone, you could then write about how that went, how you felt, and what you appreciated about that interaction, what you enjoyed about being around the other person. So really there's it doesn't really matter what you write, because a big part of having a journal is forming that connection with yourself. So, okay, good to hear. So, when hypothetically, let's say someone is in a position where they don't really know how they feel, they don't have a good connection with themselves. So, if someone says to them, right, how do you feel? What's going on for you? What are your needs? No idea. Haven't got a clue, apart from, perhaps they know if they're tired or they want something to eat, but even that could be a mystery at times. So if you're writing down, it's all coming in now. So if you write down, in this moment I feel, and perhaps you don't even know how you feel, but you could connect to your body. And so you could say, right, well, I feel tension in my chest. I feel an emptiness in my stomach. I feel some tension in my throat. So it's the sensations, and it's been said that sensations are the precursor to feelings. So sensations first, like when we were babies, sensations, and then once we develop our intellect, we're able to then label the sensations. So the sensations and the feelings around them. And this is why the chakra system can be so beneficial, because then you can get an understanding of what feelings are connected, associated with each chakra. And so that can be then a way for you to externally understand what is going on internally. So just to come back to the comments here. So Selena says house. Not sure what that is in relation to. Perhaps I've forgotten. That's a luxury nowadays. And Chav is saying, I'm from Canada. Hello to everyone from Canada. I know there's someone else here also from Canada. Whereabouts in Canada are you from? And then Darling Dion says, I'm 29 and still live with my parents. I feel like my black and white thinking keeps me feeling that I don't want to have my own life. And Safia Rafaya. Could be Italian, could be Spanish. Feel free to let me know. Yeah, it could be Italian. What are the origins of black and white thinking? Yeah, good question. Good question. Well, there's a few theories about that. One theory is that black and white thinking is something that's often attached to the borderline personality. And if I remember rightly, it comes back to the merging of the I think it's the good and bad mother. They talk about how when we're younger, because we haven't got that well-developed intellect, it's like in the beginning, it's like a mother or parents, they're good or they're bad. They're good and they're bad. And then as time goes on, providing we develop in the right way, we blend the two and see that, okay, yeah, our parents are made up of good and bad things. They got a bit of both. And then it's more balanced as opposed to that person's good or they're bad. So it's like being in a relationship and it comes to an end. And this is another, touching on another reason for it, is that this can be a defense. So it's what they call splitting. So let's say someone's in a relationship, it comes to an end, and they're feeling ashamed, they're feeling bad. And then to avoid that, they project that sense of badness onto their partner, ex-partner. And then it's like, that person's bad. They're worthless. And then this comes back to the dehumanization. So they're nothing. They're worthless. And this also taps into, this is then also seen in the narcissistic personality disorder, where someone's discarded at the end. And obviously, if someone's got that disorder or they just got that wound, then because of how bad they feel about themselves, they can't repair their own shame. They can't tolerate their own shame. So it has to be then projected into someone else, and they're worthless. They're nothing. Got to get rid of them. And then they become the depository of that person's shame. So as I see it, the more emotionally and intellectually developed someone becomes, the less they will engage in black and white thinking, or at the very least, they will be able to observe it. And this is where meditation comes in. They will be at an awareness. They will be able to observe when they're going into that black and white thinking. And then they can behave differently. And then Chav says, yes, I think that's to me saying his name properly. And then he says, this channeling explanation is very relevant. I think I've gone over that. Book of Gordon says, hello, Dr. Cooper. That's why I laughed before. Yeah, secretly a doctor. Doctor of emotional healing. Day and night, yeah, black and white. I mean, some things are. But of course, some things are day and night. But at the same time, there's also in between, isn't there? So that's how things are. And then Sophia Rafay, thank you. I'm Algerian. Welcome, welcome. And are you viewing from Algeria as well, or perhaps somewhere else? And then Darling Deal says, gotta go eat dinner. Toodles. Yeah, if I remember rightly, I think there was someone else on the last call from Brazil who was working with a live broadcast, was working with a therapist or something. They had to leave the call, so someone else is leaving, this time for dinner. Another form of nutrients. Do you work with a therapist? I have done in the past. I've worked with many healers, not really therapists, but healers over the years. It's been very beneficial. Find the right ones, and then they can do a lot of good. The good thing about now is that with the internet, when I started off, when I was on the path in 2003, when I was consciously on the path, it was the internet, but it wasn't all as with the YouTube and everything now. Like people say now, some people say, not to use black and white thinking, some people say it'd be good if there was more awareness and everything. And at the same time, compared with before, there's so much more help, so much more assistance now. It's incredible. far more support available. Bethany 92, what would you say usually happens to a mother Imesh man after his mother passes? This is something that I've actually done a video on. Can be a number of outcomes there. I mean, it all depends on where he's at, if he's doing any work. I mean, for one thing, he can end up being very depressed and suicidal because he has lost his focus. The center of his world has moved on, especially if he's emotionally underdeveloped. Then it can be like a child that has lost their parent. So it can be very tough, very hard. So all depends where they're at. So Selena says, I hope that answered your question there, Bethany 92. I would recommend putting in on my videos, put in something like passes on, and you should get the Mother Imesh Man video that I did on that. And then Selena saying, I don't think there is enough support, especially for low income people. Yeah, at least in the mainstream, I think that because of human nature, how we are wired to avoid pain, and our brain is designed to keep us unconscious. So there is this need to avoid pain, and so it builds up So the outcome of that is in a society that is not really geared to deal with emotional issues. A lot of people are running away from themselves. And if they're in pain, why not? It's usually only when someone has hit rock bottom, perhaps a number of times, that they start to really face themselves. Their self-development, with all the bypassing with positive thinking or spirituality in brackets. And then there's real working through pain. So because of that, to me, it's not a surprise that there is not a lot of support. Because most societies are pretty dysfunctional. And they're right, there's not enough support. And a lot of the support that is on offer is often not very good. So someone else got Shanu saying hello. Hello Shanu, I hope I'm saying that right. Whereabouts are you from? Feel free to let me and everyone know. It's always good to get an idea. And then Bethany92 says, thank you, you're welcome. There's over 100 videos on the enmeshment now. So most likely you will find an answer to your questions. And Shani was saying, what do you think of Hinduism? I'm from India, welcome. I don't know much about Hinduism. I know a bit about Buddhism. On the beginning of my journey, I read a number of books on Buddhism. I was quite into that. I think part of me could live that life, go and be a monk. But then there's other parts of me that wouldn't be able to do it. So what are the what do I think of religion? Well, I'm not religious myself. I once heard that behind all the dogmas, a lot of the religions are based on a very similar philosophy. I think that we have to find a path that is right for us, and whatever that may be. So Shanu, are you a Hindu yourself? Feel free to talk about the main tenets or the main points of Hinduism. I'm intrigued. For example, I recently went to Israel, and while I'm not, as I said, I'm not religious, but I can appreciate the mosques and the churches and all that stuff. I find that very meaningful in the architecture, so it's good to be exposed to that. And Chav said, did you struggle with alcohol or other substances prior to your path to recovery? No, I fortunately not. When I was younger, I used to go out of the weekends and get pretty rat-assed, as they say in England and other places, but I've never really apart from that, I've never really been someone who is really into alcohol or beer. I think it tastes awful. And substances, no, I had quite a strict upbringing, so for me to go down that route, I was always petrified that I'll be in deep trouble, so I just didn't go down there. I suppose a lot of that in the beginning was channeled into my writing, lots of writing, bit of an obsession, and working out and running. I suppose that's been another source of release. But fortunately, no, I didn't go down the the alcohol or the drug route. Apart from, as I said, when I was in my teenage years and after, getting pretty drunk and everything. But I think if I hadn't worked with people in the beginning, and it would have been very different for sure. Find someone who is right for you, a good therapist, a good healer, and a lot can change. A lot can change. And Shanu says, yeah, I am a Hindu. Hinduism is all about getting in touch with God by self-realization. The main teachings include understanding that we are a soul and not a body, reincarnation, karma theory, I think, and how to get rid of any sort of karma so that one doesn't take any more births. Yeah, I can relate to a lot of that. I'd certainly believe in reincarnation and past lives myself. I also believe that I think it's important to go down before we go up, so to do the emotional work and then to start thinking about and engaging in these more spiritual principles. Because I think without that, if we just go up, it can just be another form of bypassing. And when it comes to avoiding pain, there's a lot of traps there, whether it's thinking positive or using affirmations or using success or anything that lifts us up out of the body. Or there's the spiritual route of taking all these substances or endlessly meditating again to avoid pain in the body. So there's so many different traps to not be in our body. And as I said, our brain is designed to deceive us. So we have to be mindful of all the ways that our mind and our brain is going to use to allow us to function, to keep it together. Because our brain is, the main priority is to procreate, just to stay alive, to procreate. Doesn't matter that our baggage is going to most likely cause us to not be a very good parent, as long as we can pass on our genes. So that's why awareness and working through our baggage is so important. And and Selena says, I don't think anyone really knows. We are just making it up as we go along, but it but if it keeps you going. That's one way of looking at it. I mean, another way is to say that when we're in our mind, it's just ideas and theories, and then we can get into, let's say, our heart, and we can sense things, and some things we resonate with. I think that can be different. It's then not an idea, it's not a theory, it's more of a knowing. But I think it's a personal thing. And then somebody says, well, if you don't want kids, well, that's the choice then, isn't it? Don't think there's any pressure there. It's not for everyone. Certainly a lot of people that have kids that, for reasons that are not really about the children. But I think if someone's not really into having children, then that's how it is. That's how it is. So let's come past an hour. So any questions? Any feedback? Feel free to send it over. And then Chav says, after all this work that you have done to get better and all these videos, do you think you feel healed, or is there a continuous journey toward a better well-being? Well, my view is that it's a journey. So I've certainly come a long way from where I started. And to me, it's certainly a journey, working through layers, getting more connected to myself. And so, yeah, definitely a journey, not a destination. I did think it was more of a destination many years ago. So I've done a number of courses, and I thought once I do this course, and sometimes these courses were presented as the answer. And so I was more naive. I thought once I do this course, then I'll be sorted and everything will be okay. But no. That just led to more frustration and false hope. Now I see it as being more of a journey. Selena says, it's a journey, but I still can't afford the Hermes Oran sandals on my way to Birkin. Filth. I think that's a brand, isn't it, boss? The Birkin. Feel free to elaborate. Then Shani says, would you please read the book? I think it's a Bhagavad Gita. You would learn a lot of new things and come across a very new set of ideas from that. Thanks for the recommendation. I have heard of the book. And perhaps I'll check it out. Whereabouts in India are you from, Shanu? Central. Many years ago, a friend of mine was in England, from India, and he said that he's from the heart of India. So perhaps that's where you're from. And Selena says, I cannot reach Hermes' heaven, let alone Hermes' God level of enlightenment. Interesting. Interesting. Jav says, thanks for your videos and best of luck. I think you're very inspiring. Thank you, Chav. How did you come across the content? Be interesting to find out. Then Shanu says, "Yeah, we are from the same state." Perhaps you know the guy. He's called Tanmay, but perhaps that's a fairly common name. Who knows? Yes, I think there's a lot of people in India for sure. What is it, about 3.5 billion? So it says easier to find Jesus at this point. Yeah, it's a lot of people. So, Shanu, Shanu and everyone else, apart from if you've already answered this previously, be good to know how you came across my work, the videos that I've done, and what topic was it that or topics that interested you. I've created videos on all kinds of subjects, so there's not just one thing that pulls people to this channel. Good one. Good one, Selena. Thanks for joining tonight. You're always adding some humour and unique thoughts. You don't find Oliver, he finds you. Yeah, I end up coming round to your dwelling, your home, knocking on the door. How are you doing? What interests you? Well, I've got a number of topics here. I wonder if Selena's got any holidays booked. Last time we were speaking about holidays, I think, the time or before. Where would you go on holiday, I think? Where would you like to go on holiday? So, the Book of Gordon says, my family is extremely dysfunctional. And I added this, is the reason for my discovery of Oliver's channel. And thanks, Book of Gordon, for sharing that. And Shanu says, honestly, I don't remember subscribing to your channel. Perhaps you're not a subscriber. Perhaps you've just turned up. And then Shanu says, I might have seen a video of yours and found it interesting. I just don't just subscribe to any channel. I'll say our subscriber then. I will surely watch more videos. Thank you for letting me know. And Selena says, I'm too broke and sick to go anywhere. But it's global warming. But it's okay, global warming means UK is toasty. Yep, okay, well in that Good point. So whereabouts in the UK then, Selena? Would you got any destinations in mind you'd like to visit? I think Glastonbury would be an interesting place to visit again. Stonehenge and the Cheddar Gorge and all that. Can't think of the Tor. That's it. That'd be interesting. That's interesting. The Tor, and in London, or near to London. Well, it is in London, I suppose. Windsor Castle, be interesting to visit there. And then Shanu says, I am a subscriber actually. Shanu says, you have written books as well. Yeah, just a couple. Just a couple. What are they about? So I've got 26 books out. So in general, they're about emotional healing. They're about self-understanding, emotional healing. In the beginning, I think the first book was Trapped. I think the first book was A Dialogue with the Heart. So two of them are kind of spiritual books. And then after that was Trapped Emotions. So there is 14 normal books, 2 kind of poetry, spiritual, and then there's 10 how-to guides. So the how-to guides were all about how to take matters into your own hands. So Selena before was saying about the issues with the support for people who are not well off financially. They then struggle to get the mental and emotional support they need. And so one of the big reasons for the how-to guides was to present something for people who are not millionaires, who don't have lots of money, who could take matters into their own hands. Of course, there's some things we can't do, but that was the purpose of the how-to guides. So my latest how-to guide, dealing with trauma, is how to reconnect with your true self. So that's and then the one before that was enmeshment, how to no longer be a mother enmeshed man. So just come back to the comments. Selena says, is that a form of negging, eh? Negging. Yeah. Negging, eh? Interesting term, something that comes from another area. I think it was the mystery method, negging. I found him first. And Selena says, I'm too scared to go to Stonehenge. I might find someone I can't handle. What do you mean by that, Selena? And then Janice says, no, I wasn't trying to neck. No, I think Selena's just got an interesting sense of humour, lightening the mood. Okay, if you say so, you think he is single? Question mark. And then Shani says, right, dealing with trauma, as I said before, it's all about dealing with trauma, really. All the books are about that. And then Selena says, can you get them stocked in local libraries or Libby app? That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Yeah, everyone out there in your libraries, please go there and request they stock my books. A good idea. Book of Gordon says, the first part of healing is realizing that no one went to the moon. Well, healing from the propaganda, the narrative of society anyway. Healing is in understanding. The first step is self-awareness, right? Without awareness, there can't be anything else. And Shanu says, what do you mean by true self? Is it your soul? What I mean in the book, true self, it basically means, in this context, being connected to our body, being connected to our needs and feelings, being an embodied human being. That's what it relates to. So trauma pushes us out of our body, causes us to live on the surface of ourselves. And all the time we've got this pain in our body, we can't get back in. It's just like you're in water, when you try to push a toy, a blow-up toy or a ball into the water, comes back up. And that's like us. When we're trying to be in our bodies, when there's pain, we can't get in it. We get pushed out. And so as we work through that, we become more embodied. We're more connected to our needs and feelings. And then we know what is right for us. We know what is not right for us. But without that, when we're in our heads, then we're reliant on external guidance. So we look to our friends, we look to society. What should I do? What's right? And then we become over-reliant on our intellect. So we then have the need to get all this information to make the right decision. And so there's all this pressure on our head, on our intellects. And then because we're in our heads, then we're more likely to be duped. So someone else says this, yeah, that sounds good. But we're not in our bodies. We're not in touch with our intuition, our feelings. So we don't know when something is off. So like with the political realm, the politician comes out and says, vote for me and I'm the real deal and I'll give you this, I'll give you that. But then if a large part of the population is not connected to their bodies, then how are they going to know if that person is just talking bullshit? Because they're out of touch. So someone says all the right things. It's a bit like being you meet someone and that person's very charming, seems very sensitive. Oh yeah, they seem really nice, but that person is then not in tune with their feelings. Again, they're not in tune with their intuition, their body, so they have no sense. Okay, yeah, they're saying the right things, they seem charming, but something's off. So you just go along with the fantasy. They're in their mind, they're caught up in this idea of what that person's like. Then down the line, they end up getting taken for a ride because they weren't in tune with themselves. So coming back to the Libby app, I don't know much about that. And Bethany says, found you looking for information about MEM on YouTube. Yep. And Selena says, I don't understand. If you get brainwashed, surely it helps you to learn more, as there is more space in the brain. Not quite sure what is meant by that. Shani says, yeah, I understand. We get numb because of trauma, and then we are conscious about ourselves, and we feel alive. So it's what you're speaking about. When we are conscious about ourselves, then we feel alive. And Selena says, Shana, you are right. I'm alive with pain. Book of Gordon says, as an introject, I am narcissistic. As an introject, what do you mean by that, Book of Gordon? I'm curious. And so Faye says, what causes self-awareness and pushes a person to be conscious or release? What are the factors? Good question. I think what causes? I think some people are born with that ability. I think some people from a young age are just, they might not know exactly what it is, but they just have this sense something is not right. Something is not right. This isn't how it should be. And another part of it is that they can be very curious. So they want answers. And through reaching out, reading, having conversations nowadays, watching videos, listening to things, that then develops their self-awareness. But obviously having a well-developed intellect helps as well. It's curious, the mind is reaching out, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. And then Shani says, what happens, Selena? Too much expectations from this world. And Selena says, yes, I was expecting to marry a millionaire, but I was too old and messed up to meet one. Book of Gordon, introjection occurs when a person internalizes the ideas or voices of other people. Do not develop a core personality yet. Yeah, I'm with you. Introjection, yeah. Which is not bad, which is not completely bad. Introjection, of course, is a key part of developing a sense of self when we introject the right things. Because, of course, in the beginning, we internalize the external world. So what is going on around us becomes what is going on within us. So if we are surrounded by people who are loving and kind, we internalize that and that becomes our inner voice. And vice versa, if we're not around the opposite of that, if we're around people who are unkind and cruel and critical, then we internalize that as well, and that becomes our inner voice. And then Shani says, Selena, you can impress one, I'm sure. And Selena says, no, I expected my family to love me, but that's a lot to ask, so I give up on trying to do anything with my life. Being dead suits me. Selena, come on. Come on. Don't give up on yourself. Keep going. I'm narcissistic. I reflect my mother. I never developed my own personality as a child. I made one up due to my circumstances. And Sophia Rafe says, thank you. You're welcome. And Selena says, I'm too low maintenance, so they would get bored. And I'd be a terrible trophy girlfriend. Plus, I'd sign them prenup. Perfect woman there. Perfect woman there. Low maintenance. And sign a prenup. The perfect woman for a lot of men, for sure. Book of Gordon, exactly. And Selena says, Book of Gordon, you sound resourceful. Yeah, narcissistic, but you got self-awareness there, so not too strong on the narcissism. And Shanu says, I can feel you. It's the same for me as well. I have typical Asian parents. Talk to me when you're a doctor types. have been through a lot of emotional neglect. Yeah, it does seem in certain cultures, a lot of pressure. And enmeshment is very much part of the culture. So the parent pretty much decides your whole life, and you're seen as less than. And there's a moth outside. And Book of Gordon says, Sam, that bacon is a good resource, yeah. Knows the stuff. And Selena says, Shanu, I would just remind them they will still require you not to leave them in care home. In the care home, I'd say, yeah, tell them. Be nice, or I'll you'll be left in the care home. So it's 12:05 in the UK. Been on here for an hour and a half. Once again, any more questions or feedback, feel free to send it over. The Book of Gordon says, you must realize it and accept it. You must listen only to yourself and endure much pain in your revelations. That's it. That's it. Key part of it. Realize what's going on, gradually accept it through working through pain, acknowledging the suffering, and it gradually gets easier to accept it. And this is why at times external support is important, to have someone there who can help to stabilize us whilst we're facing deep pain, because it's not easy. It's not easy. It says here, Shanu, Selena, whoa, you have a good sense of humor, by the way. Yeah. Good sense of humor indeed. Unique sense of humor. Unique sense of humor. And Bethany92 says, thank you for your time and advice. You're welcome, Bethany. Thanks for joining us tonight. I suppose if you're in Canada, must be what, early evening there, late afternoon. Selena says, all of you are a great sport for putting up with my comments. Enjoy your sleep and literary success. Yeah, well, Selena, perhaps some people here have checked out your channel. You've got a few videos there. Good creative input, output. Lots of good videos there. I wonder if Selena's done any more. I wonder what's going on there. I wonder if she has got back on that side of things. Something we touched upon last time was, this comes into purpose, I suppose, that if we have the need to do something, it doesn't matter what other people are doing, or if other people are doing videos, other people are writing. If you feel the call to do it, gotta do it. Gotta do it. As they say, follow your bliss and doors will open where they won't be open for others. I think it was something Campbell, can't remember his first name. Joseph Campbell, that's it. Selena says, Shanu, thanks, I bought it from Mail and Comedians. Yeah, you got it from Amazon Prime. They delivered it the next day. The Book of Gordon says, you have not figured out the past, that is why you are stuck in it. You need to reflect on your traumas and rationalize them individually. You will realize things that you never thought of. Well, that's the thing about working through our pain. As we work through our pain, embrace it, work through it, then we realize things through doing that, as opposed to relying on the insights of others. We work through it, and as we do that, insights come up. So it's more of an organic process. And then through working through the pain, our mind can then settle down, as opposed to trying to settle ourselves down through playing with our thoughts, which are often a sign that there's something going on emotionally that needs to be resolved. The Book of Gordon says others who are involved in any way are always wrong. And Selena says, so S&M is the answer, guys. Sure, Selena's talking about something very much off topic. No wonder. You've gone, I'm a monk. No, it's fine, Selena, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's completely fine. So Book of Gordon, is that a monk in a, I think you said before, is that a monk mode, that's it. Yeah, I think since the whole COVID, the lockdowns, lots of people spend more time in isolation, more time by themselves. Selena, Book of Gordon, I'm a nun. Interesting. What is it? Nuns? They don't. It's a nunnery, isn't it? Not a monastery. Does that mean you're in a nunnery now, Selena? Living in a nunnery somewhere? And what is it about Stonehenge, Selena, that is off-putting? You said you might meet someone. See what you said. I find someone I can't handle it. In Stonehenge. Who do you expect to meet in Stonehenge? I've seen pictures, I've seen videos, but I haven't been there. But I am a member of English Heritage, so I'll be okay to get in. Book of Gordon, I am also over 50 and more cautious. Selena says Stonehenge has large stones, yeah. All seem very phallic to me, and I don't want to be crushed to death. Well, I'm sure all the stones are pretty secure in Stonehenge, so I'm sure you'll be fine, Selena. Sure you'll be okay there. Don't think you need to worry. There's an energy to the stones. Oh, this, we're all head to Stonehenge and see what happens. I'm sure we'll all be fine in Stonehenge. Just have to stay back, don't get too close to the stones. So Selena's got psychic abilities. I remember that. I think there's that place in America, isn't there, that it's like a castle, and they thought there's one man built these walls and I think a castle, and they thought that he had special technology, and then it turned out he used a special pulley system to move all the stones. Fascinating. Book of Gordon says, I don't think it is any more than an old building. I think I might have read that. So Selena says, Book of Gordon 50 is the new 5. Yeah, I think as time passed, people are living longer, aging better. See Tom Cruise, what is he, about 60? He's in good nick. So he's aging well. So I think that'll be it for tonight. Could go on and on and on. So give it a few more minutes. Book of Gordon, I'm in the best shape of my life. Yeah. Stay in shape, look after yourself. Selena says, Tom Cruise, please. God forbid. Obviously a fan of Tom Cruise. Take it you'll be seeing the new Mission Impossible film then. Safira Faye says, what is the explanation of the resistance to self-awareness? Resisting being conscious? Well, pain, basically. The more pain someone carries, the harder it is for them to face reality, to face how their life is, to face their past. And then there is a greater need to be in the fantasy mode. So that's the thing, that the mind is then distracted, keeping busy. And Selena says, I'll be watching it for the good looking women. Okay, so Selena's into men and women by the sounds of things. Selena says, I'll have to ignore Tom Cruise, which is a challenge. The Book of Gordon says, exercise does help cognitive. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, lots of research done there about lifting weights, running, walking, swimming, for the benefits of our mind, our mental health, healthy body, healthy mind, and all that. Of course, if our body is very lethargic, then it can be hard to think clearly and to function. Strong, healthy body, better mind. Safira Faye says, thank you, you're welcome. Selena says, I have eyes which I seem to have been blinded, which seem to have been blinded in the past. So becoming more open, more accepting of parts of herself by the sounds of things. Our true self. It's good to hear what it's all about. Becoming more connected to who we are, our needs, and living more in alignment with who we are. Letting go of conditioning and the need to please others, to be a certain way, and following our own calling. Right, on that note, thanks for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the broadcast. I've enjoyed being here tonight and answering your questions and sharing the information about the Purpose How-To Guide, and that is available on Amazon, and also touching on black and white thinking as well, and the importance of journaling. So if you're out there thinking about journaling, please begin, please commit to yourself, and like someone said, they want to write, begin. The sooner you begin, the better. You're welcome, Selena. Take care of yourself, and I'm sure you'll be fine at Stonehenge. Until next time.